Hey folks, let me start off by saying thank you for clicking on this video.
And may I also make clear that the change in my look bears in no relation whatsoever to the comments that are being passed about me. The comments describing me as a crystal maze motherfucker, comparing me to Richard O'Brien, the calls of "to the Crystal Dome" that follow me when I walk down the street, were not in any way an insult, even though they were passed by degenerate Philistines who have no soul whatsoever and have no grounding in movies at all. Just so you know.
This is going to be a fundraising video for the post-production process of the Sarkeesian effect, but I also want to give you an update, tell you how the whole thing is coming along. Because, as you know, Jordan and I have been drastically under budget from the very beginning on this.
Because I've been blowing that budget on hookers and blow. I mean, take a look at me. I can't afford my whiskey. I can't afford cigarettes. I have had to pawn MacArthur and replace him with a cup that has a skull on it. Seriously, we need the money.
But nonetheless, we've managed to get some great footage. And now that we're in post-production, that footage is finally starting to come together and really become a movie. Now, if that's enough for you, there's a link down below to the Fund Anything campaign that we are using for the post-production process.
The Fund Anything campaign that sends your money directly to my PayPal account. Also, it's a link to the Fund Anything campaign. It's not really a link to the work print, so to speak.
But I would like to tell you a little bit more. I'd like to tell you where we're at and how it's all coming together. So the problem with that, though, of course, is the catch-22.
I have to tell you enough in order to convince you to shell out money, but not so much that you'll finally work out that I'm just trying to lead you up the garden path, so to speak.
You guys are our clients. And I really want to show you what we have right now, because it's looking great. I'm proud of it.
But I'm not going to show you, because, seriously, I need some cigarettes, I need some whiskey, and I need to get MacArthur out of the pawn shop.
But what you are paying us to do, the reason you're funding this documentary, is to have a strong, palpable, rhetorical argument that's fact-based, disproving not just Anita's arguments, but the whole premise that there needs to be a feminist critique of video games in the first place. And the problem is, well, it's sort of like a legal case. You know, when you're going to a court of law, you don't want to tell the other side what your argument is before you make it.
Even though the court of law does require things like disclosure, so the other side gets access to all the evidence that you have. We don't want that to happen. We don't want our case to be rebutted before it's even made.
And so there's no way I can actually show you the first 25 minutes that I now have in rough draft.
Because that may convince you to not donate to the Fund Anything campaign. Seriously. Whiskey, cigarettes. MacArthur, come on!
I have sent a copy to Mundane Matt and Sargon of Akkad, and, hopefully they'll jump into the comments section down below and give their impressions of it.
Hopefully they won't, because they might say that it's a load of horse shit.
They're colleagues that I respect, but we're not close friends, and I think they'd call a spade if it didn't look any good.
Of course, like they did on the Fat Overlords podcast when they ripped me apart. Again, my change of look has nothing to do with this whatsoever. And how was I to know that they would have a decadent slut interviewing me as well?
But it's looking damned good. So what I'll do instead of just kind of give you the overview of how it's all coming together. So, first of all, the target demographic that we're hoping to reach with this movie is, it's not you. You guys already know that Anita Sarkeesian's arguments are bullshit.
Of course, and then you'll learn that this video is bullshit, hence why you are not the target audience.
It's not the social justice warriors, because
they're the ones who need convincing.
You can't convince them of anything.
So why bother trying? I mean, when you feel that you're not going to convince the people who already disagree with you into maybe changing their mind, why bother creating something credible, of a high evidentiary standard, that would pass the test of, well, anything?
It is our parents. My dad in particular is actually who I'm thinking about whenever I'm putting all of this together.
Who is already ashamed of me and wish he had never conceived me.
You know, I want to explain to them why they should care about video games in the first place.
I have to put forward my case to people who don't know. You know, put forward my case to people who will not investigate and find out. You know, who would take my word at face value and follow me. Hopefully, give me money. In fact, that's all I want them to do.
You know, why they should care about this poor little girl that's getting harassed online.
And of course, why their son is being part of the harassment of this poor little girl online. I have to justify myself to them. I have to make them not be ashamed of me.
And how this affects them in their daily lives. So we start off on the timeline. The first 3 minutes.
Woohoo! Did you see that? I have a video editor.
You know, who she is, oh, she's wonderful, oh, she's won so many awards. And then we transition to what is the real story, however. What's the other side of the story?
And how do I fit my agenda into that story, which is the important part.
At that point, we have a brief 1.5-minute animated intro sequence, you know, produced by, directed by, etc., etc. And then the very next portion is going to be addressing her arguments.
As in, failing to do so in any meaningful way.
Now, we need to do this. You know, because supposedly she has these scholarly arguments. We all know they aren't scholarly. We all know they're bad arguments.
We won't say how they're not scholarly, or how they are bad arguments, apart from we believe that Anita Sarkeesian is a doo-doo head, and a woman, a decadent slut. Did I mention that I'm a white nationalist on paper? That lends much credence to my argument. Do you not agree?
But we need to address the arguments to maintain intellectual integrity. So we've managed to compress it down to 10 minutes.
Managed to expand it to 10 minutes. How the fuck we managed that? I have no idea.
As you know, you can argue for hours with the nonsense she spewed.
But we won't bother. I mean, let's face it. Thunderfoot has already argued for hours. I mean, 32 videos, man?
I mean, you know, my partner Jordan has done literally hours on this.
Yes, and he is my partner. My partner who's literally done hours, not sad about being jealous of the manly alpha and totally not gay form of Roosh V, who I... Oh, well... yeah. But, yeah, he is my partner. Not my gay partner. I need to make that rather clear. We're purely business partners, you know, and I mean, we need this money. We need it, you know, it is for production. That thing about all this fund me him having nothing to do with it, he is insane. No, he's not insane. He's a wonderful human being and a very hard worker.
Because it's just so endless. And yet we found a way to compress it down to 10 minutes. And so that part's going to be a voiceover with an animated background to keep it engaging, you know, because we don't want people to feel like they're in school. And so here, I'll play a very brief clip of that so you can see what it looks like.
Without proper context, the viewer is left with the impression that Fallout must be a game where murder is lighthearted fun.
For the record, some of the assets used there may be replaced or updated or polished as of yet, so...
For example, any sources that we care to critique, we'll remove those, so you can't judge for yourself.
Still in rough draft. I'm just trying to get it all nailed down onto the timeline so it's a coherent movie. And then we launch into the first section, the actual interviews, the actual meat of the documentary.
That, remember, Jordan has had no real work into. I mean, he's a very hard-working man, but that thing about him being insane and having hallucinations and, possibly being gay, just forget I said that.
And the first section, as I've explained before in previous videos, is the Not Your Shield. This is where we introduce people that say, no, I'm a woman, or I'm a minority, and the idea that there's only this one narrative, the idea that these video games are sexist, etc., no, that's bullshit.
Because we're totally using them as a shield for our arguments.
And in fact, these people taking control of the narrative, it's the social justice movement these are the ones actually harming me.
Well, because we have to make it clear, we need anecdotes. We need proof. You see, how could anyone be possibly sexist when some of their best friends are women? Even if they say that they are all degenerate sluts, some of my best friends are women, so I cannot possibly be a sexist. I say that I am a white nationalist on paper, but some of my best friends are black. So how could I be a racist? Do you follow what I am saying here?
So that's where we're at right now. And of course, there's a bunch more footage laid out on the timeline, but that's the solid portion. That's the bit that I can actually show to people, and it looks like a movie.
Except it looks nothing like a movie. Seriously, there are better formulated YouTube videos that no one has had to pay anything towards.
So, where do we need to go from here? What still remains to be done?
Well, you need to give me money so I can start buying whiskey, cigarettes, and get MacArthur out of pawn. I mean, come on. Look at that cup in the background. Yes, it does have a skull on there, but it doesn't have the majesty, the dignity that MacArthur did. Do you not see? It's pathetic. I mean, there should be whiskey in there, but I just can't afford any.
Well, obviously, I need to keep editing this thing. Documentaries, the hardest part of them is the post-production.
The post-production that, Jordan was totally involved in until I took the project off him.
This is what makes or breaks a documentary. It's sort of like the way a sculptor will say that the marble tells them what it wants to be sculpted into.
Yes, because I have to compare myself to a sculptor. I'm not just producing a YouTube video. I am not just, producing a documentary. I am creating something that is erotic, artistic. It is two men making love, if you will, to a non-linear editing package.
When you're filming a documentary, you don't have a script. You don't know what people are going to say. And when you get the footage, you need to sit down, you need to sift through all of it, 30 to 100 hours of footage all told.
Which you have to understand is totally different to the production of, say, a feature film or a drama series. No, they don't have to do anything like that amount of work.
And figure out what the documentary is.
You'd think we'd have this worked out before we started shooting the documentary. What it is we were investigating, what conclusion it was we were leading to. Oh, well, that, depends on what we find out, but we've already came to that conclusion before we started the investigation. I mean, come on.
And so this is why it all happens in the editing booth, because you don't know what you have until you're done creating it. So that's the first bit. And I've just completely streamlined my life so that I can focus basically full time.
What I mean is, I have given up my job, so please, please, donate to my Fund Anything campaign. Look, the fucking whiskey, the cigarettes, they're gone. MacArthur's and porn. I've had to let my hair grow out. Come on, I would have shaved this a long time ago. If it wasn't for you degenerates, you impoverished, disgusting people buying your own food instead of paying for mine.
On this, as well as writing and doing the YouTube videos, which I regularly do, and the podcasts. But just strip the life down. I'm a little bit above the poverty line right now. Not because I'm a masochist, but because I'm efficient.
Because I gave up my job. Not that I can hold one down. I mean, my boss, they pretty much found out my opinions. It was pretty touch and go anyway.
And just work on it and get it done. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there's still a little bit more footage that we need, a little bit of filler. And
actually, the entire documentary will be filler. All filler, no killer.
And finally, the third thing, and this is really the big one. You see, folks, the more we dig at this, the more loose threads that start coming up.
The more bullshit we can spin, the more conservative arch-Christian rhetoric we can throw in there.
You've seen the clip of Jordan going up to the mailbox Anita Sarkeesian uses. Well, there's nothing dramatic about a public figure using a P.O. box. Heck, I've wanted to get one for quite some time. The interesting thing there is who owns the neighboring P.O. boxes.
Which, as I'm sure you all know, Anita Sarkeesian will have complete control over. You know, this is how P.O. boxes work. I haven't had one as yet. Every P.O. box site has at least one social justice warrior using that same site. And, you know, I cannot have a P.O. box in the same block as that. It would simply be unethical.
So that there's all of these little threads. We've been trying to get a hold of other social justice warriors. Unfortunately, the ones we've approached have all said that they are too scared to appear on the documentary because...
Actually, what they said is that they found me, personally, to be scary and creepy. They were too scared of me, you know, basically interfering with them in their sleep. And that was women and men, which I have no understanding as to why they would feel that way.
Because just appearing on this, they'll get shredded by their own team. And finally, we're still looking for a couple of individuals that would be willing to come forward that know certain details. Again, I don't want to give the whole thing away right now.
Of course, because the last thing I want you to do is actually make an informed decision on whether you donate to me or not. Whiskey, cigarettes, MacArthur, come on!
But the more we look into it, the more questionable things there are.
You know, the more, and most of which are going to be in our documentary. As in, our documentary is going to be the most questionable thing there is in all of this.
So we've got about 95% of the movie at this point. It's coming together and it's looking like one hell of a movie. You know, despite the budget, it is looking like a proper documentary.
The budget that I need to basically increase as much as I can. Come on, guys. What do you expect me to do? Sign on the dole?
And honestly, it's getting to the point where even the SJWs, they complain about the editing, which is hilarious because it's bloody good editing, in fact.
If I do say so myself. But again, the editing that we haven't quite managed because we need another $19,000 to improve it.
So, what we're asking for
is all of your money and your firstborn and whiskey and cigarettes and any skulls that you happen to have lying around. I'm really missing MacArthur.
Is we have a target goal, $15,000, to see it through to the end. We're using the Fund Anything website.
The Fund Anything website that pays money directly into my PayPal account, so if anything goes wrong, you get nothing back.
Part of the reason is because it's very stripped down. There's no monthly thing. There's, you don't have to hit a threshold or anything like that. It's very simple, and being a separate website, it makes the accounting a lot easier.
Yes, the accounting is so much easier. The money goes from your pocket into my PayPal account.
It makes sure that we, don't get the funds confused, that they're, locked into a certain place.
As in my PayPal account, to which Jordan Owen, my partner, has no access.
And also, just because, the CCO of the company, Brad Wyman, a friend of a friend knows him, and from what I hear, he is a very decent and principled man. So,
of course, and absolutely, there's no cronyism or anything. I mean, a friend of a friend. It's like, do you think we'd go to somewhere independent about?
That's a nice selling feature as far as I'm concerned. So yes, we are asking that you give what you can. This thing is really starting to scare the social justice warriors. They are desperately pulling at straws now to...
By pulling at straws, I mean pulling at their own man straw in masturbatory fury at how ridiculous we all look.
Find anything to criticize about the trailer we released. They're losing in the mainstream media. There's even that documentary #Gamer that they were hoping to make, although it doesn't have much funding, because they are shaking in their boots, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Which is why I've made a total change. I've grown my hair out. No whiskey, no cigarettes. MacArthur's not here. There is a book on the screenwriting formula. Yeah. No. But like I said, I'm holding to my image, holding to my message.
So folks, please click the link down below and give what you can. No gimmicks with this, not, saying you're going to get this bonus. No, it's just if you can help us get this documentary finished, if you can toss us $5, $10, or $15,
the more the better. If you toss us anything less than that, then you're a poor, impoverished degenerate. And like I said, no gimmicks. No, if you pay this, if you give us this money, you get that. Basically, every money that you pay to me goes directly to my back pocket. Just so you know.
It all helps. And this movie will be done. Come hell or high water, I'm going to see this movie done.
And if you believe that...
And it is going to be... Well, it's already something that I'm proud to put my name on. And it's still in rough draft.
Okay. And believe me, if you think it's getting any further than that...
So folks, thank you so much for watching the video, and tentatively, I'm thinking we might be able to have something done by September.
Well, real soon now. If not September, then I need more money. In fact, however far on it's gone, I still need more money. I mean, come on, I'm between jobs here, you know? Fucking, come on, throw me a bone, please!
With any luck, you know, as long as I keep my nose to the grindstone, we can have something by September.
Well, I really keep my nose to the grindstone and begging you for money, because, come on. Do you see a glass of whiskey in my hand? Do you see a cigarette in my hand? Look at that stupid fucking cup. I mean, come on!
So, folks, thank you so much for your support, and please, give what you can. Aurini out.
Aurini then. Look at this outro. Oh man, I'm Alpha. I'm a bad guy. Yeah!